Okay, I've got the PVC cement, the wrench. I need the stack, please.
Stack.
And I need the drain.
Drain.
I need the pliers.
Pliers.
Thank you.
And you're gonna need this. Blowtorch.
Oh, I hope so. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, wait, here he is. Hang on a second. Richard?
Hey, how are you?
Ooh, Richard.
Yeah. I heard you're going to do a little plumbing story for me?
I am. You okay with that?
Oh, yeah, I remember my first day.
All right, well, I just need a couple tips.
All right. Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey.
Right, tight,
Hot's on the left.
hot, loose.
No, heat goes to cold.
Heat on the right.
High pressure goes to low.
High is cold.
Don't
Low.
cross the threads.
I know that. Come on, I know that.
The most important thing, which you never want to forget.
Yeah.
Don't ever, ever.
Yeah.
Richard.
Yeah.
Jack.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Most
See you
important.
later.
Wait. Well, I hope it wasn't important. Well, good morning. I'm Kevin O'Connor, and welcome back to Ask This Old House. If you've got a question about your house, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a letter, send us an email. And in fact, we got a letter from a homeowner who had a problem with his deck, and we sent Tommy out to lend him a hand.
Tom, thanks for coming by today. We just bought the house 3 months ago, and what really drew us to this house was this incredible outdoor space that we have here.
Boy, I gotta say, Jim, you got a beautiful backyard here. It's huge, and I'm jealous. But what's up with the pool?
Oh, we're not too sure what to do. It was like this when we first moved in. We could either, fill it in or bring it back to its original state.
Well, I gotta tell you, I have a pool, and I love it. So if you're looking for my vote, I say keep it.
I'm right there with you on that one, Tom.
All right, but you wrote me about the deck.
Yes, I did. The deck is, as you can see, it's a decent size, but it looks kind of tired.
Well, decks require a lot of maintenance. Think about it. They get the hot sun and the rain and the snow and the ice on them all the time. This deck is actually made of mahogany. Here's a scrap piece right here. And you can see that it's weathered. You can actually see check marks in it. Looking at the end right here, you can really see the check marks. Turn it over where it wasn't exposed to the weather. Look at how beautiful that mahogany is.
It is very beautiful. Can our deck look like that?
Well, it can, and you can even stain it. But I can't help you with the staining, because the first thing you have to do is wash this deck and clean it. Then you have to wait about 3 or 4 days for it to dry before you stain it. So you ready to get started on cleaning?
Absolutely, Tom. Let's get started.
All right. The first thing a lot of people think of when cleaning a deck is a power washer. Now, I don't like a power washer because a lot of people use them and they're too powerful. They actually damage the wood fiber. So what we're going to use is a pump sprayer.
So what are you using in there, Tom?
Well, this is actually a biodegradable wood cleaner. It's good for cleaning decks and fences outdoors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it with water in a 1-to-1 ratio. And we're simply going to pump it up, spray it on our deck. All right, Jim, let's start way over here in the corner. We'll get good exposure and just put it all over the deck, nice and wet. We'll spray the whole deck, and we'll wait about 10 minutes, and then we'll start scrubbing it off. Put plenty on, because we don't want it to dry up in the sun. This decking is really dry. It's actually sucking all the cleaner right in it. Why don't we get the garden hose and wet the deck down first? All right, Jim, I'm going to keep spraying the cleaner on if you want to scrub it. Hey, look at the dirt coming right out of there. We're cleaning the wood really well before we stain it to get all the dirt and grime out of it, so you can really see the grain of the wood. All right, let me hose it off and let's see what it looks like.
Wow, that looks great, Tom.
Oh, yeah. Very nice.
What a difference.
Look at the colors of that mahogany. It's beautiful.
Tom, it's looking great.
It sure is, and there's one more thing we want to do. Now, when we were cleaning the deck, a lot of that dirt was actually algae. So what we want to do is treat the deck with a borate, and that will keep that algae from coming back. It will also protect the wood against any wood rot. So what I want to do is I want to mix it 5-to-1. 5 parts of water to 1 part of borate. Okay, you want to put some water in there? All right, that's good. Now you really want to mix this well, and you want to mix it in a separate container because you don't want to clog up the pump sprayer. All right, now we'll just put it in the sprayer. Now we'll just spray it on the deck. Nice and light. Just get good coverage. Jim, try going this way. I like going with the wood, so when you're spraying, pick a spot where you're going to start and spray along the grain. That way you're not doubling up, and you're getting the whole deck. You're not missing any spots this way. That borate is really soaking in good.
Should we be rinsing it off, Tom?
No, just leave it on. Now you want to let the wood dry for about 2 or 3 days before you stain it.
What type of stain should we be using, Tom?
I like to use an oil-based stain. What I do is I take a gallon of stain and about a half a pint of varnish and I mix them together. Mix it up really well and then apply it on the deck. This deck may require 2 coats because it might soak in. Do you think you can handle it?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks and see how it looks.
All right, thanks, Tom. There's a gallon of stain. Now we'll apply the urethane. Okay, I have a quart here. I only need a half a pint according to Tommy. So 2 pints equals a quart. So I need just a quarter of this can. Tommy recommended using a sponge applicator to cover the deck evenly. This is looking great. This is exactly what we're looking for. My wife's gonna be happy.
It's been a couple of weeks since we helped Jim prep his deck so that he could stain it and seal it. Let's see how he did. Hey, Jim, this looks great around the perimeter down here. I see you stained and sealed this.
Well, I figured all the hard work, Tom. Why stop up here?
Well, let's see how the deck looks. Ooh, wow, this looks beautiful. I love this deep brown color. Very rich looking. About how long did it take you to seal it?
Well, the deck took 2 coats, 3 hours each.
Yeah, I bet that first coat soaked right in.
Oh, it did. It was calling for a second coat.
Well, the wood was pretty dry. I think what I would do is leave it alone for the winter, first of the season, give it another coat. It'll really bring it out.
Okay. And I was very careful not to overlap.
I could see that, because you don't see any overlap joints. And I gotta say, you did a nice, neat job. I look here, you didn't get any stain on this flash in here.
Well, it's amazing we can do a tape, Tom.
Well, I gotta say, Jim, it really looks great.
And we're very happy with it. With your advice and the prep, it looks awesome. We're happy.
Well, it was my pleasure.
You did a nice job.
Looks good.
Yeah, and the color looks great too. But I guess the main reason to treat your deck is to protect it, right?
That's right.
Well, if you walk down the aisle of the home center, there are endless choices of things that you can use. Can you make sense of all these for us?
Well, there's really only 2 things to think about. You either want to stain your deck or you want to seal the deck.
All right, well, let's start with sealers.
All right, here's the sealer right here. It's nothing but a clear sealer. Put it on the deck and it's good for about a year.
This is a piece of mahogany?
Yep.
So you're saying there's no color in this at all. The only reason it looks darker is because this is sort of the illusion of being wet.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
All right, now here's a sealer right here that has a little color in it. It's added pigment to it. All right, so now it's a sealer. Has some color, gives you a little more life than a clear sealer.
Because it's got a little bit more protection from the color.
Exactly.
All right, and then this guy?
This is actually the same thing, but this is an oil base, and this is a water base.
So what's the difference in your mind between oil and water base?
Well, a water base will dry faster. It'll also clean up with soap and water. The oil base takes a little longer for it to set up, and you clean it with mineral spirits.
All right, so those are the sealers, and these are the stains. And I wouldn't normally think of stain as being good protection, but I guess it is.
It's very good protection. The stain actually goes down into the wood and really grabs well. Plus, it leaves like a pigment of color on it, so it's protected against the ultraviolet light.
So it's actually putting a layer between the wood and the sun, and that's what keeps the UV off the wood.
Right.
So here I can see some of the grain and some of the wood character through the stain.
Right. This is a semi-transparent stain, so you
Gotcha.
can see the grain below.
And then you're telling me this guy right here, this is stain as well?
This is stain. This is solid body stain, so you can't see through this. So this is going to give you the best protection against the UV.
Because the sun can't get to the wood at all. All right.
Exactly.
Good tips, Tommy. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Guys, I'm going to apologize up front. This may be too complicated for you.
Try us.
Okay. A basin to put liquid in.
Okay.
A sprinkler on the front. And on the top, a photovoltaic cell.
Solar magic, good.
What is it?
I know what this
I know
is.
too.
Yeah, this is the answer to America's fastest growing problem.
Which is?
Oh, lawn art larceny.
What?
Yeah. Just the other day, someone swiped a garden gnome from my front yard.
My flamingo's gone.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, flamingo's been gone for a while. I don't know what that means, but it has. This is a security pedestal. Now, let's say you had a piece of lawn art that you wanted to protect, like Woodsy the Owl right here.
Sure.
Okay?
yeah.
We wouldn't want to lose that.
You put it right on top, just like that, and then you fill the basin with something nasty, like, say, battery acid, right?
Nice touch.
Hey, these are hardened criminals, right? So when the perpetrator's in the ad, here, he goes in front of the sensor, and that triggers the whole device, and it sprays the acid all over him.
Pretty neat.
It's not going to work. You covered up the photovoltaics.
Now we're working out some kinks here. Woodsy.
The solar works for me. It's a solar water heater. I looked at this at first. I thought it was silly, but it actually works. About 5 gallons. You use it for camping or boating. Has a little heater right here. At the end of the day, after a tough day of camping or boating, just get right in front of the spritzer here. It's perfect. Doesn't work all that good on the cloudy days. You can stink a little bit.
Yeah, it's been cloudy a lot.
All right, have you guys all had irrigation systems put in your house?
Yeah.
Very messy, and it's expensive. It's a lot of work.
Dig up the whole yard.
Oh, it's terrible. Well, listen, you get about 10, 20, or 50 of these, and you put them around your yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would look a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. The screen blends with the lawn. Every day you fill them up with water.
Nice.
This is a sensor right here that tells you when that part of the lawn is dry, so you don't have to water the whole lawn.
Very smart sensor.
Photovoltaics powers it.
Now you got a green lawn.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're out of business, man.
Well, guys, I got to say, you all got a little bit. Let me put it together for you. This is for repelling deer from the yard.
Repelling deer.
They will eat everything in your yard. This scares them away. Up front here, we have a sensor.
Yeah.
When the deer goes by, it sends out an ultrasonic frequency to scare them away.
Ultrasonic.
Oh, I'll just sorry.
You can't hear it. If that doesn't work, the sprinkler kicks on. Now, Richard, you can impersonate a deer, right?
They used to call me Bambi back in high school. Yeah, of course they did. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
By the way, Bambi didn't have horns.
Yes.
So the deer comes by the front.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh, that
That's
ultrasonic
noise,
is
yeah.
killing me. Can you hear that?
Watch what happens next.
Ultrasonic.
Run, Richard,
He runs like a deer.
More like an elephant.
Today's project takes us to the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. This diverse hub on the shores of Lake Michigan has tons of things to see and do. Tall buildings, lots of stores, and the deepest deep dish pizza you have ever seen. Today we are in Park Ridge, which is a neighborhood just outside of Chicago, and we're working on a plumbing story. Each one of these houses has a sewer line running from the house out to the street. So sewage flows from the house to a main line here underground, and then everything is carried off to a treatment facility. Now, in this neighborhood, as is the case in many neighborhoods, that sewer system is actually connected to a stormwater system as well. And that means that when it rains, rainwater comes through this grate, it comes out to this main line, and then the rainwater and the sewage mix and are carried off to the treatment facility. Now, the entire system is designed to handle 2 to 3 inches of rain per hour. But if you get more rain than that, well, the system can back up. And instead of having sewage coming from the house, you can actually have sewage flowing to the house. So, Janet, you got a huge rainstorm about a month ago, 10 inches, right?
Yes, I was thinking it was a glorious rainstorm. I was sleeping. I remember listening to the raindrops falling on the awning. Got up, came down for my morning cup of tea, peeked down the basement stairs and saw the shimmer of water on the floor. And I knew the glory of the rainfall was over with.
So you took in a lot of water. Where was it coming from?
It was coming up from the floor drains here.
You've got one right here in the corner.
Yes.
So this was not groundwater seeping in or coming through the doors and windows. This was actually backing up from your sewer
Yes,
system.
with a mighty force. It knocked the shelf right out of its slap there.
So how much water came in the basement?
After it all receded and I measured, it was 42 inches.
Oh.
This workbench was completely underwater and then some. My water heater and all its component parts were underwater. My furnace was up to here.
And did you lose all of your mechanical equipment?
I lost everything.
And you're actually being nice here because you're calling it water. This is really water and sewage.
It was raw sewage, yes, indeed. You know, the frustrating thing, Kevin, is that I thought I had a system in place to prevent all of this.
And obviously it failed.
It sure
So
did.
we have called in a local expert to tell us what happened with that system and what the solution is. Dennis, how are you?
Kevin, good, and yourself?
So what are we looking at here? We've got a giant pit here in the front yard. What is this?
What is known in the industry as a backwater valve flood control.
And what am I looking at?
Well, it consists of 2 systems. This first system is a check valve in line with the sewer line.
So a check valve, it's basically a one-way door. In this case, it's open to allow sewage to flow from the house out to the street. But when the storm comes and builds up pressure, it basically closes that valve so that
Correct.
sewage can't get into the house.
Correct.
With the door closed or the check valve closed, how does the sewage get out of the house?
Well, that's the second part of the system. There's a whole pumping system here that the house flows out of the sewer into an ejector basin in which a pump takes it, pumps it up and over the inline check valve, and pushes it into the city sewer.
Okay, so Janet ended up with 40 inches of sewage in your basement. Something happened. What went wrong?
Basically, the system failed. What happened is that the check valve on the sewer line blew off. It allowed so much sewage to come in here, overwhelmed the pump, and it failed.
Okay, and what's the solution?
Replace the entire system.
Sounds like a lot of work. We better get to it. It looks like you are about to dig yourself a pretty big hole here.
That's correct, Kevin. We got to remove this entire vault.
Taking everything out, this entire concrete wall system here?
Yes.
So there's nothing about the system that you like?
No.
How come no heavy equipment?
We want to protect the lawn. As a matter of fact, when we leave this job, we want it to look like we weren't even here. And now that we're about 3.5, 4 feet down, we're using a sledgehammer to break apart the existing vault so we can remove it by hand.
So a lot of work, Dennis, but it looks like you guys are pretty much done with your excavation.
Yes, we've taken out the walls, we've removed the floor, we moved the incoming water line.
So that's the lead pipe that I'm seeing there, sort of in a half-round fashion with the copper connection in the middle. That supplies water to the house?
Correct.
So that's out of the way, and now we've got really good exposure to the broken PVC check valve. Is that ready to come out?
That's ready to come out.
Let's pull it out and have a look at it. Comes right out of there. So here's the old PVC assembly. Do we know what failed?
I can tell you exactly what failed. When the full vault of water receded, both the lid here and the check valve inside had blown off and were laying at opposite ends of the empty vault.
How does that happen?
That just tells me that the pressure was so great that this lid blew off, and when that happened, that freed up this check valve because the only thing holding this valve on was the lid.
And then when that happens, you have got a straight shot into Janet's basement, which gives us 40 inches of sewage.
Yes.
Okay, so that's no good. And this is what we are replacing it with, right?
Yes, this is our double guard system. It consists of 2 check valves in series,
Right.
along with the overflow,
And it's not PVC,
and it's full cast iron.
and these are not screwed down. They're actually bolted in place.
Correct.
So that should hold up. And here's a little mock-up you've got of one right here. We can take this off, and we've got a cast iron housing, and then we have got ourselves a brass check valve in here. So in a normal operation, sewage flows from the house past the check valve to the street. During a storm, brass check valve is shut, and none of this city sewage can get past it, or in this case, past 2 of these.
Correct.
All right, well, let's get this guy in.
Wally's lowering the valves down Albert so that we can connect them up into the sewer line. Now Albert's tightening up the connection on the rubber couplings. And now we're lowering down concrete to pack onto the front connection because that's taking the pressure from the city, and that's the most important joint.
Pack it in concrete, make it nice and secure.
Yes. And now we're adding aggregate to the concrete in order to strengthen the base around the valves. And now we add water. We're now adding sand to the base of our vault so we can start laying our curved block. With these curved blocks, we will rebuild the walls. And now with the first course laid, we will continue to build the walls up, all the way up to grade, mortaring and backfilling as we go.
All right, well, it's a big job, and I know we still have some more work to do, but Janet, you are in good hands with these guys. Dennis, thanks so much for helping us out.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, it's prettier than a Christmas tree. I can hardly wait for the next glorious storm. Thank you.
Hey, you know what? You can have your plumbing projects back. Yeah, 42 inches of sewage, just not for me.
You know, this condition is so typical in the Midwest. Got all that flat land out there. Storm and sewer lines come together out in the street, and they have rain, torrential rain. And when that happens, water has to seek its own level. It'll work from the street back into the house.
And water seeking is a level. That really means that because she had 42 inches of sewage in her basement, that meant she had 42 inches out in the front yard in that big pit.
Out in the pit, and the whole neighborhood was elevated by 42 inches.
So really, any open pipe in the basement that is below, in this case, the 42 inches, that's a possible penetration.
That could be a floor drain. That could be a standpipe for a wash machine. It might even be a basement bathroom.
So instead of a huge system in the front yard, is the way that we can attack those individually by the different drains?
Well, if it's a floor drain, they do make a floor drain check valve. Looks like this. You pull the cover off the floor drain, and this would go down inside the floor drain. And you can see these stainless steel screws. And when we tighten these up, this will expand this grommet right here to seal.
Gotcha.
Now, in normal operation, water goes right by this ball. But as the water rises in the sewer, it's going to push this ball up and seal it tight so nothing's going to come this way.
Gotcha, okay. Now, in the case of the wash machine that's in the basement that has a standpipe, what do we do about that?
Well, in that case, you want to extend that standpipe as high as you can get it. You know, you put the washing machine discharge goes up into it.
And in that case, if you put it up, say, 60 inches, you would need 60 inches of flood water before it would come through that pipe.
The water might come up to 42, but it wouldn't overflow.
Gotcha. And then the toilet in the basement?
Well, you really don't want to use one of these check valves underneath the toilet. You know, solids from the toilet could clog, and it's a real nuisance. You really want to use a back water valve like you had on that project.
Right.
There's really a lot of advantages to that back water valve, too. You can still use your floor drains in case there's groundwater coming in during that heavy rain.
Which would be likely.
Absolutely. And you can still use the plumbing in the house, even when there's a big flood trying to come inside the building.
All right, even more lessons. Thanks,
That's
Richard. Today's viewer tip comes to us from Lou in Tampa, Florida, and he's got a solution, Tommy, for those pesky plugs that get stuck in a hole saw.
Yeah, when you drill a hole through a piece of wood like this,
So an effective tool, but then, of course, you're left with that plug.
it's very difficult to get those out. Now, you can take a screwdriver and try to pry it out that way.
Right.
You got to find a screwdriver, or you can find something that will fit in that hole and pound it out that way.
And that's not always that easy to do. So what Lou suggests is that you actually use a couple of deck screws to your advantage.
Well, let's see how it works.
So he's saying that you actually drive 2 screws into the plug. And the idea is that when the screw bottoms out on the hole saw, it'll start pushing the plug out.
Right out of the hole.
Boy, that is pretty clever. Nice tip, Lou, and for your efforts, we're going to send you a T-shirt. So if you've got questions about your house or a viewer tip, send it to us because we'd love to hear from you. So what's the deal? I go to Chicago, you're cleaning decks, we're doing all the work.
I'm used to that.
Well, what do you say next time we put Richard and Roger to work?
That'll be a switch.
All right, well, until then, I'm Kevin O'Connor.
And I'm Tom Silver.
For Ask This Old House. Yeah, that's not too bad, huh?
No.
If you have a question about your house or a home improvement tip you'd like to share, please let us know. Visit our website at pbs.org for expert advice, step-by-step videos, and much more. Next time on Ask This Old House, Roger prunes an apple. Tree, that is.
All right, when you get this out of your way, you can finish off that cut.
And the guys ask, what is it?
Don't tease me, bro!
This Old House magazine, the companion to the television series, provides advice from our experts that you've come to know. You can use your credit card to order 10 monthly issues for $10 by calling 1-800-221-5900.